Suicide is a tough topic, but the Washington County Reach for Hope Suicide Prevention Coalition wants you to know that there is always hope. We are a caring community reaching out to provide compassion and hope for a community free of suicide. In the next half hour, we'll talk with community partners to identify risk factors, raise awareness, and discuss prevention strategies. Hello and welcome to Reach for Hope. I'm Melissa Anderson. You know, veterans are among our most vulnerable population when it comes to thoughts of suicide, and recent efforts to reach out to them by the VA and others is hopefully making a difference. With us today to talk about these prevention efforts are two people who are in the thick of it right here in Utah. Mariana Krall, who you are the Suicide Prevention Outreach and Education Specialist in the VA in Salt Lake, and Thomas Lamb, who is the Veteran Outreach Program Specialist here in St. George at the Vet Center. Welcome to both of you. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Now, first of all, Mariana, tell us about your position. This is a new position. What do you do?
So I have recently, for the last year or so, been the Suicide Prevention Outreach and Education Specialist for the Salt Lake City VA. And it's, I think, very similar to what Thomas does now. It's exactly what it says. It's outreach and it's education about suicide prevention as it pertains to veterans in the community. But recently I'm transitioning to a new role of Community Engagement and Partnership Coordinator. And that is a job that they have rolled it out in other VAs across the country. And we are just now, because they're being so successful and we're seeing how necessary they are, we finally got the funding and approval to have it local to us. And really what the focus of my job is, and there's another gal that does the same job with me, Heidi Bright, our explicit role is to go into the community and find veterans and community organizations that serve veterans and really kind of create a public-wide action plan for suicide prevention so that we can really all support our nationwide efforts for that. Because interestingly enough, of all of the veteran suicides that occur annually, over 2/3 of these veterans are never walking through our doors. They're getting their health care in the community and elsewhere. So we've found this is a public health crisis. We need to go and reach out and find them. We can't just wait for them to come to us. So that's kind of the purpose of my position.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Now, Thomas Lamb, you are actually active in the military as a reserve right now for the National Guard. Is that correct?
Yes, for the Utah Army National Guard.
Yeah, so you can relate to this. You've probably had comrades and people that are in this position of these thoughts and things. Tell us how long you've been with the Vet Center here in your outreach specialist position.
Yeah, so I've been with St. George Vet Center since 2015, August 2015. I just barely recently came back. I went on a 2-year active duty with the Army National Guard. So I'm just really getting back into it and starting to refresh everything now that I'm back. So trying to get back into everything. And with the Vet Center itself is a little about the Vet Center is we do readjustment counseling. So we're a community-based readjustment counseling service center. Other than that, we do resources, have a bunch of information for veterans, anybody to come in and see us there.
And where is that located here in St. George?
So we're off 1664 South Dixie Drive, over at Dixie Commons area.
And you're only open, 5 days a week or what?
Yeah, 5 days a week. Yep, so 8 to 4:30 is our office hours.
Yeah,
so.
And I imagine you're in the phone book and anybody can reach out and call and make an appointment to come in or just walk in?
You can do either or. So you can walk in and we'll get you in. Any veteran in a crisis that wants to come in, and they can see a counselor right there and then. So that's one of the nice things about the Vet Center is we are very open and very easily to get into to see a counselor.
Now, this is an arm of the VA, correct? It's not something that's separate.
Yeah, no, so we are a VA. So to keep the confidential and the strict portion of it, we are actually kind of governed with RCS, which is a readjustment counseling service out of Denver, Colorado. But we are VA, we are federal. But what they do is, so VA can't access any of our records. So it's 100% confidential for veterans to come in. And the VA can't access it, or if you're still active, DOD can't access our records.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's good to know that there's some place that people can go, and we'll talk a little bit more about emergency crisis here in a minute. Now, Mariana, can you give us some statistics on how severe of a problem we've seen suicide over the past few years and what we're experiencing here in the United States?
Yeah, sure. So like I referred to earlier, it it is a public health crisis. No one is immune to it. Suicide affects people of all age ranges, nationality, sexual orientation. It affects everyone across the country and really across the world. Utah, a study in 2019 actually showed that Utah was ranked number 6, the 6th highest state in the United States for deaths by suicide, which is really unfortunate. And when you shift that to a veteran-specific focus, veterans are at a higher risk for reasons I'm sure we can all understand. Veterans make up, and again, the study was 2019, but veterans make up 8% of our country's population, but they are accounting for 14% of the suicides. Wow. Which is a pretty sombering statistic. One number that a lot of people are familiar with is 22 a day. 22 a day for a really long time. It was very well known that there were 22 veteran suicides every single day. That number is now down to 18, which still 18 too many, but there's hope in that message that what we're doing is working and that there is help. And those methods of help are just expanding as the years go on.
Yeah, and that's what we want to express and show and get the word out about. That's what this show is all about, Reach for Hope, right? Thomas, what kind of a problem then have we seen here in St. George, if you know about that?
It's a little different down here, especially, southern Utah. So I cover as far as 8 counties down here in southern Utah. So there's a lot of different things that we're not seeing. Unfortunately, there's a problem, I think, everywhere in the state, like the numbers Mariana was saying. So for us, we do see a lot, unfortunately. The biggest thing is trying to outreach to all these different rural communities and trying to reach out to them to find them and trying to help them. Just in the 8 counties down south, there's about 15,000 veterans. So trying to reach out to find those numbers or whatnot it's kind of tasking. So that's part of our job, to try to go out and outreach and try to find those veterans in need to help them. So.
And how do you do that?
Whole bunch of different ways. Advertisement, we do a lot of videos. I think it really helps out. But we send out advertisement flyers. For us, for the Vet Center, so we actually outreach to different communities, these rural cities. We have a big RV-looking truck we call the Mobile Vet Center. It has a whole bunch of information. We can go to those rural communities, the cities in southern Utah. So the main ones I go to is Richfield, Beaver, Cedar City. I'm going to outreach to Kanab and certain other areas. And we go out there and we just try to give out the information and help out in these rural communities that don't want to travel or can't travel down to St. George.
Yeah, that's awesome. And we do know that we are rural out here. Mariana, you've been meeting with veterans here recently and with organizations across Utah as well. Tell me how that's working together in coordination with these types of efforts to reach out and let veterans know that there's help out there.
Right. We, like I said, this position of mine is brand new. Like, we are starting at the bottom and working our way up. And I'm really lucky to have made the connection so far down in this area. This is kind of my first pilot project area that we're really outrolling a lot of this stuff in. And what I found is so great is the veteran community here and the resources and the people that are like just want to help, and the Rotary Club and different coalitions. Like, you guys have a really solid infrastructure in your area, and it's going to be really exciting to see what we can do to partner together. But some of what I've been doing is, finding the Reach for Hope coalition, and there was a veteran specific coalition that I went in and sat on yesterday. I came up in December and did a training up at the Elks Lodge for a bunch of people that are, on suicide prevention. And it's really cool to have, because like the VA in Salt Lake, we're kind of up on our little hill in Salt Lake and they know of us, but how often do we get the opportunity to actually come down and be here? So to be here, we're forming connections and we're really getting a good lay of the land of what currently exists and where are the gaps, and also we got this coalition here and this coalition here. Are you guys, is there crossover? Do we need to recreate the wheel? I mean, it's really neat to see how we can look at what we're doing and expand on what's already working, but also have a very clear focus on what our vision is and what projects we really now have the bandwidth and the funding to accomplish.
That's awesome. And Thomas, what have you done recently that I know you've met with Mariana, and what have you done recently to maybe expand or reach out besides using your mobile vet van?
Like I say, come back for 2 years, doing all these different outreaches, getting in contact with the Veterans Coalition, going to all the different organizations and key leaders and just reaching out to them saying, hey, this is what we do. This is what we want to do. How are we going to work together to really create a good environment for everybody. We all can work together for resources for the whole community and in these areas. So
Yeah, and I think that's key. Being a veteran yourself, tell us, why do we have a problem with suicide amongst veterans, do you think?
There's lots of things that can go into it. It's kind of one of those subjects, but really you look at, and it's not just combat veterans, it's veterans that maybe have dealt with military sexual trauma. It's veterans that weren't healthy enough to deploy. They all have issues that way, and I think with the combat, in combat, you're constantly adrenaline rushed. You're always doing something. You always have a mission. You always have a task. You always have something else that you're planning to do that you have to do. But then when you come home and you have that downtime and that time to relax and think, wow, like I was in the middle of all this craziness and I didn't realize it over there, but now I'm home and it's really, everything's starting to calm down. And now what do I do with it? And then there's that stigma that comes with it, I think. Really holds you back from the help that you should be seeking out. The stigma kind of holds you back to where it almost like it builds up so much to where you think that the whole world would be better without you. So I think that's a lot of where that suicide ideation comes from.
Yeah, it's a little bit of hypervigilance. You're so high strung and on edge and wondering what's going to happen next, and then you come home and then, now what?
Absolutely.
I would imagine that's where it is.
And we're all trained. Veterans are highly trained at what they do, and so to feel weak or to feel like they need to get help, it's really hard for some to do that.
Yep, we've talked about that in the past, about this stigma of being strong, and it's wrong to feel like you might have issues with thoughts of suicide, and that's not true. You're not faltering, because we all actually have thoughts of that. It's just that some are more prevalent than others. Mariana, what mental health resources, since we're on that topic, are available then at the VA?
Gosh, we're so lucky. We have a variety of everything you can imagine. We have inpatient treatment, outpatient treatment, residential treatment, groups. There is, outdoor activities if like you need recreational therapy. Like I mentioned a while ago, the VA we really pride ourselves in being very research driven. Lots of statistics. We're doing lots of studies all the time. And the reason that's so great is because what we do at VA is evidence-based. We're not just making up what we think would be a good fit for, substance abuse or depression or PTSD. We have the studies to show us what's working, so there really is something for everybody, depending on what you're going through.
And if someone is struggling, do they have to have an appointment to be able to get into some of the programs, I'm sure, but not actually if they're struggling?
No, not at all. There's so many resources. Where do you even start on how to get connected?
Yeah.
Lucky for us, we have, at least up at the Salt Lake City VA, I can definitely speak for them, we have what's called an access crisis team on our campus 24/7. And I guess this does go for veterans across the state, is they are obviously available 24/7. It's a full team of clinicians that are able to do on-the-spot crisis assessments. If you're not in an okay spot, go to the nearest emergency room. But to get help, you can stop into a vet center. You can go to your nearest, we call them C-Box. They're community-based outpatient clinics. You don't need to have an appointment. Obviously, to get into certain levels of treatment, you got to go through some of the channels of, doing an intake and whatnot. But if you're just in a spot where you either want to get connected and don't know how, give us a call or come see us. Another way, I'm sure you'll hear me say this number at least 3 or 4 more times throughout our meeting together, but the Veterans Crisis Line. Sometimes people think if I'm not in complete crisis, I shouldn't call it. I mean, we can call it a veteran helpline too, because what that does is it lets us at the VA know that you called, whether it's I really need to get an appointment, or oh no, my meds ran out and I don't know how to get a refill, or I'm suicidal and I need help. You're channeled into us at the VA, and someone from my really, really incredible suicide prevention team will personally call you back within a business day and help you get connected in the ways that you need.
So we should give that number out now. What is that Veterans Crisis Line number?
It is 1-800-273-8255. And that number right there is actually the national crisis hotline. So absolutely anyone can call that. You don't have to be a veteran. But when you do call that number, it'll prompt you, if you're calling for military veterans or on behalf of one, press 1. So once you call 1-800-273-8255, you can press 1 and it'll route you to the the Veterans Crisis Line.
Yeah, and we talked a little bit about that stigma, Thomas. How likely is it for someone to call that number and to try to reach out for that help? And how do you portray that this is a good thing and that they're not just going to put you in a straitjacket and haul you straight to the hospital, or the fact that they're just going to shove a bunch of meds on you? I mean, I think that there's a fear and a stigma about that as well.
Oh, absolutely. The VA does great with their resources. They put out a lot of videos of, real experiences of veterans getting help and actually using these resources and things that will help them out, So the videos of them actually saying, hey, I'm actually upset that I waited so long to actually reach out and get help. So there's a bunch of different ways that we try to take away that stigma to try to help out veterans. And for us, walking into our facility alone, we try to give them that helpful environment that come on in. We try to make them comfortable and try to make it good for them and a good experience for when they come in.
Right.
For help.
So are there support groups out there then for veterans as well that are maybe offshoots of what you do, or for family members, or can family members come in?
Oh, absolutely. Yep. So we're for veterans and their families. And we do a bunch of different groups. What's nice about us too is we can create groups. So if you're a veterans organization, you want to come into our facility, use our facility, you can come in and coordinate through me, and we can get you in and do a vet, and we'll have a counselor there that will help out for any veterans. Maybe if they get triggered by something or something else, you'll have a counselor there that can help out, mediate that, and go with it. So we got family support, PTSD, Vietnam groups, and different recreational stuff as well.
Yeah, and Mariana, you have a support group too that's Be There, is that correct? It's something that helps on social media?
Yes, there's a variety of groups through the VA as well as digitally. If there's one silver lining to COVID, it's that now we really know, like, that telehealth and being able to do things through a digital format, it's just expanded our reach, which is great for such a rural state. But yeah, if you even just Google #Be There, you'll find a lot of great information about that.
That's awesome, because we need the education. We need to understand that we're talking about this now, whether anybody likes it or not, right?
Exactly.
So, Thomas, we didn't talk a little bit. We talked a little bit about your Veterans Center, but how do veterans get a hold of you? And you said they can just stop by your office, and just they'll find out more information about when you're starting to offer things.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Walk-ins are welcome. Like I said before, if they're in crisis, we can get them in and see a counselor right then and there.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, walk-ins are fine. If you see me out in the mobile vet center, a lot of people call me the guy in the van. I get that a lot.
Yeah.
But I'll usually be in your stop in and
the guy in
see
the
me
van.
Guy in the van.
Give you the resources, and as long as I'm not down by the
I
river,
was just
that's good. Yeah.
That's a cool van too. It's probably got a lot of inside.
No, for sure. Two offices, free Wi-Fi. Yep, come stop by anytime. It's definitely available for you.
That's great. I understand you're having a gathering too that's coming up in April for heroes in our community. There's going to be a gathering that they're going to be doing for veterans on April 30th in St. George. Why is it so important for us to recognize our veterans as well as our heroes in the community that are helping us and helping our lives every single day? I mean, whether it's in the healthcare industry or police officers or veterans. I mean, how appreciative, how do you feel when someone's appreciating you like this?
No, definitely. So they're doing that first responder. Military is definitely included with that, but it's a respect thing, to have that support. We definitely support everybody that's helping us out in the community, and I think it's great. And I think Southern Utah definitely puts out a lot of events and stuff to show appreciation for everything they do in our community.
Yeah. Mariana, can you give me some last thoughts on how you feel about how veterans can reach out? We talked about that 1-800-Veterans Crisis Line. You can bring that up again if you want and talk a little bit about anything that we might have missed.
Gosh, I mean, I feel like we're going to be a little bit repetitive here and talking about all the fabulous things that we can offer. But yeah, I'll be honest, and this is kind of humbling to say, but today was the first vet center I've actually been able to walk into, and the way that they even just greeted me, and I am not a veteran, but they greeted me with open arms and welcomed me in, and we had great conversations. So I think if you're in an area where, I don't know, maybe you're on the fence, maybe you haven't qualified for like your service connection or your veterans benefits yet, like find a vet center, go in, find what community events are happening that have anything to do with veterans, military, first response, and and hit it up and see the type of community, wear your hat. It only takes like wearing the hat or the t-shirt or the jacket of what branch you were in, and that's an immediate conversation starter. So getting into the community, finding your community-based clinics, calling us at the VA. Here in St. George, they actually have correct me if I'm wrong, but like it's a veteran-specific Rotary Club.
Yep, no, for sure.
Oh,
They
wow.
just started
A chapter of
So,
that, which is so cool. And so, again, like the point of we're getting into the community to find and seek out those veterans so that they don't necessarily have to come to us. We want to come to you, but if you need to, again, and if you're overwhelmed and don't know what to do, call the crisis line and simply say, like, I mean, they will ask you questions to ensure your safety, so please don't be offended by when they ask you the questions of, are you having suicidal thoughts? But we want to know how to help you, even if that's getting you connected, even if you need help with the enrollment process. Let's get you the phone number of someone, or you need an appointment. Like call that hotline. That's what we're for. And again, the number is 1-800-273-8255, and press 1 if you want to get to the Veterans Crisis Line.
And you talked about the different branches. How connected are we to these different branches? There's the American Legion. There's VFW. Tell me a little bit about those branches, and do they really work together and come together at these meetings, or should we be having more talk amongst these groups?
No, I think I think at first when it started, there was a little bit of camaraderie going on with the different organizations and whatnot, but they really came together. I think there's a whole bunch of information that got put out, and I think they're pushing out to every single veteran in their organization, and they really work together to try to help the community and build this to support everybody here. So it's worked out a lot.
And the VA sounds like it's the one-stop shop right now. I mean, and you're continuing to grow. What areas then do you serve or cover in the state of Utah, and is it expanding? It sounds like the programs are expanding.
Yes. Again, lucky for us with COVID, the VA did a beautiful job of rolling out we call it VVC. I think it's Veterans Video Connect, and sorry VA if I told you what the wrong acronym was, but like we're getting out there digitally so we can reach such a broader community with treatment options. But our VA, our Salt Lake City VA, the area we cover is pretty much all of Utah, a corner of southeastern Idaho, a little chunk of Nevada. Like it's really, really broad, and we're so fortunate that we're now getting the approval to have more manpower to really expand our reach, which is why I was able to come down yesterday and be with you guys today.
Yeah, and so are we seeing success then? Obviously we are, because we went from 22 a day to 18 a day, but I was just curious to see if we're seeing this success here in Utah.
Right. I think we are. The tricky thing is, like I talked about, the VA being so research focused, because they're compiling all the numbers, we usually get all of our statistics and reports in 2-year increments. And so we're still in the process of, pulling all the numbers to see where we're at today right now. But the numbers are going down. The services are expanding. More and more calls are coming in to the Veterans Crisis Line, which shows people are using the services that are out there. So I do feel like we're making a lot of progress. And even just opportunities like this to have the conversation, to talk about it, that right there is progress, because years ago this probably wouldn't be happening.
Yeah. And
Absolutely.
Thomas, we get triggered, or the veterans get triggered by things that are happening around us. And Afghanistan, I would imagine, was a big trigger. I'm not sure if that caused more problems, but I did hear that some of the numbers may have gone up during that time. But now we've got the Ukraine war going on with Russia invasion. Tell me about why do things like that trigger veterans who were former military, or, in that, wanting to get into that fight maybe? I mean, what can we do to reach out to them right now in this crisis that we're all feeling, regardless of whether it's on our home turf or not?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of what's going on in your country, and especially if you're out of the military, you want to join back up, you want to fight for your country. It's just kind of one of those things that's you always have that in you in a way. So and then the younger vets, you look at this and it's just a complication going on, and it's something that you might have to go and be a part of. So that's kind of triggering in a way itself. Afghanistan was a big trigger just because of the situation, everything was going on. So for us, we do a lot. We'll definitely do a lot more outreach. We'll definitely reach out to our veterans that are in that certain area or in that area of war. We'll reach out to them and make sure that they're doing good. It's kind of like a welfare check almost, call them, reach out to them, say, hey, do you need anything? Or we'll try to create a group to have them come in and just get them out of the house and come into our facility and talk. And that's, we just try our best to do what we can.
Yeah, that's great that you're there for them. I'm thanking both of you for coming here and sharing this important message. And again, call out to the Veterans Crisis Line if you need help, or stop into the vet center, or stop in up at Salt Lake, or wherever your vet center is, and reach out, because we want to help. So thanks so much. And thanks for watching. And we hope that if you're listening out there, you can share this podcast with others to reach out and help them, because there's always hope. Thanks. The Reach for Hope Coalition wants you to know that we care about you and we are here to help. If you or someone you know is thinking about suicide, reach out. You're not alone. To access resources for yourself or others, visit our webpage at reachforhopeutah.org. That's reach4hopeutah.org. If you are experiencing a crisis, please call the Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-TALK, because you matter and there is always hope.
This has been a production from a podcast studio.